Politics has always been played full contact in Snohomish County. Since the 2011 election season, however, somebody has been using the anonymity of the web to take things in new directions. The efforts have targeted opponents of County Executive Aaron Reardon. Evidence suggests that somebody on Reardon's staff is responsible. Clues have been surfacing online for much of the past year. Here's the trail. The County Confidential site surfaced during the 2011 election. It attacked Mike Hope, Reardon's opponent in the executives race. Much of the content was dug up by Kevin Holton, Reardon's executive analyst. About a third of the way down are documents about Hope being disciplined by his supervisors at the Seattle Police Department for an incident years earlier in Mill Creek. They became fodder for Reardon campaign attack ads. Reardon won re-election, but began his third term while under investigation by the Washington State Patrol. In February 2012, the County Council asked Reardon to take a leave of absence. He refused. About that time, the Clowns at Midnight site surfaced, railing against the investigation and news reports about Reardon's troubles. Right at the top of the site is a verbatim copy of Holton's complaint about the investigation. It was posted here within days of being sent to the governor. The page links to the County Confidential site. It also links to this Twitter account with an alphanumeric name. Remember this identity. It comes up again. There are literary allusions here too. Those become important later. The site shares its name with a horror novel about a guy who has a debilitating fear of clowns. A Google search for the alphanumeric name in the Clowns at Midnight Twitter account leads to posts in a Seattle Weekly story about Reardon's woes, and also to Patch.com, where the person using the alphanumeric identity calls himself Lane Coubert. Lane Coubert is a character in a series by novelist Carlos Ruiz Zafón. The romantic mysteries revolve around themes of dark secrets, betrayal, and revenge. The Google search also turned up a Twitter account for Thomas in French. There isn't much there outside of links to this Tumblr of the same name. The content there is pretty slim too. More interesting are the connections. In the People I Follow box are links to County Confidential, Clowns at Midnight, and Mid-March in Paris. The latter is a Tumblr about Kevin Holton, the Reardon aides, 2012 vacation to France. By the way, the quote is from The Count of Monte Cristo. Thomas and French became connected to Reardon this summer when somebody calling himself Edmund Tomas sent the Washington State Patrol public records requests about their investigation using this email address. ThomasandFrench.com was registered in May 2012. That same month, a company called Thomas and French LLC was registered to do business in Washington. Records say the paperwork was filed by Holton's brother, a Seattle attorney. Kevin Holton and another Reardon aide, John Rudisell, are listed as members of the corporation. So who is Edmund Tomas? Remember the quote from The Count of Monte Cristo on the Thomas and French Tumblr? The book tells the story of a man who, betrayed by his friends, spends years seeking his revenge, in part by assuming a number of false identities. The character Edmond Dantes gets his revenge in part by using a company named Thompson in French. Some editions of the book list the company in error as Thomas in French. Google that name in The Count of Monte Cristo. Study notes repeat the mistake. As part of the Washington State Patrol investigation, Reardon was required to release his emails, phone bills, spending records, and calendars. That information became public record and led to unflattering news stories about an extramarital affair and misuse of his public office for campaigning. The State Public Disclosure Commission also began investigating his campaign practices. This summer, the county received a series of records requests seeking the same sort of information for county officials and employees who were potential witnesses against Reardon, or who played a role in seeking his investigation. The requests were brought by somebody named Edmund Tomas, but this time using a different email address and claiming to represent a company named after a famous street in Paris, the Rue des Blancs Manteaux. A domain by that name was created this summer. It shares the same Bellevue mailbox drop as Thomas and French. So far, thousands of pages of documents have been assembled in response to Edmund Thomas's demands. He hasn't always appeared interested in picking them up, though. This fall, the county said it was closing out the request for his lack of follow-through. Edmund Thomas wrote back, demanding the records and saying he's preparing a lawsuit. There are no lawyers in Washington named Edmund Thomas. This fall, a courier arrived at the county to claim the records. While Edmund Thomas was seeking Reardon-related records, Lane Coubert was busy on Wikipedia. The target was Anne Block, an attorney who runs a political blog in Gold Bar. She's been trying to get Reardon thrown out of office. On August 9th, she also filed a records request focused on Holton. A few days later, this Wikipedia page showed up about Block. Wikipedia eventually decided it was a personal attack page, and it was removed from the site. This is what the page looked like on the afternoon of August 30th, just before it was removed. Note that Lane Coubert was editing the content. Wikipedia's records show that on August 21st, Lane Coubert began work on the page promoting Aaron Reardon. The Reardon page is still online. There's no mention of the executive's political and personal problems.